When we start a new Flash file, I suggest that you click where it says Create New Flash File ActionScript 3.0 file. In the Document Properties dialog box, which can be located under the Modify menu, and I recommend 960 pixels by 720 pixels, a frame rate of 30 frames per second. The timeline is a series of numbers, and the numbers refer to what frame is currently being displayed. You have a red object, which is known as the playhead, and wherever that is, that tells you what frame is currently being displayed. The playhead is on frame 1, and you see a little empty circle under it. That is known as a blank keyframe, and a blank keyframe is an opportunity for you to put visual content onto the stage. I am going to go get the paintbrush and select a paint color from that paint bucket. I also selected a type of brush and a size of brush. Once I paint a little shape on the stage, you'll notice that that blank keyframe is now known as a keyframe. It's no longer hollow, but it's solid black circle. Now I can move down the timeline and right-click under the number 20. So these little boxes under the numbers are known as frame cells. And I'm going to insert a frame on frame 20. That little rectangle at the end of the sequence of frames means that it's an end frame. Now I'm going to paint something else on the stage. You can only put new content on top of a keyframe, and we're just putting it on an end frame. So what's going to happen is that red splotch is going to appear wherever the last keyframe was. So if we go back to frame 1, we'll see that it is also back there as well. So let's say I want to get rid of frames 2 through 20. In order to do that, I have to select those frames. As is the case with so many things with computers, if you click in one spot and then shift click in another spot, you will select everything between your two clicks. So that's what I've done. I clicked on frame 2 and shift clicked on frame 20, and you'll see that those frames are highlighted. I'm going to right click on any of those highlighted frames and go to Remove Frames. That will get rid of those frames from 2 to 20. Now I'm going to select the frame cell under 20, right click on it, and go to Insert Keyframe. Now what happens is we have a picture on frame 1 that continues all the way to frame 19, and then on frame 20 I have a new keyframe. So it had a keyframe will reproduce the contents of the previous keyframe. So the green shape and the red shape were there, and I painted over it with a blue squiggle. But notice this time it does not affect the contents of the first keyframe. So if I go back to frame 1, it's the green shape and the red shape without the blue squiggle. Now I'm going to right click on any of the frames between the first one and the last one and select Create Shape Tween. This is going to get the computer to morph the first image that was on keyframe 1 into the second image, which is on keyframe 20. When you have a shape tween, the frames turn green and you have a little green arrow there. When you move the red playhead along the timeline, that is called scrubbing, and it's a way that you can preview your animation. Now I've scrubbed over to frame 10, and you see that the animation is sort of halfway blended from the first keyframe to the last keyframe. If you want to remove a single frame, position your playhead over that frame and right click on the frame and go to Remove Frames. You can also use the keyboard shortcut of Shift plus F5. F5 by itself will add a frame. Shift F5 will remove a frame. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove all my frames. A way to easily select all the frames in a layer is go over and click the name of the layer. So I just clicked layer 1, and then I'll right click on any one of them and go to Remove Frames. Now all of my stuff's going to disappear. Now I just tried to paint something on the stage, but I got this warning. As I told you earlier, the only time that you have an opportunity to put visual content on the stage is if you have a keyframe or a blank keyframe. So I'm trying to paint, but there's no blank keyframe. So I'm going to right click on that first frame cell and insert a blank keyframe. Now I have painted another little blue shape, and we're going to look at motion tweening. In order to do motion tweening, it works with things known as symbols. So I'm going to right click on that blue shape and go to convert to symbol. A dialog box opens up and I can give my symbol a name. I'm going to call mine symbol blue shape. The type is movie clip. Let's say accidentally on purpose I turn this into a button instead of a movie clip. Now I'm going over to look at my library, and inside the library is my symbol blue shape. To the left of the word symbol blue shape is a little picture. It's a picture of a man's finger on a button. Small pictures like that are known as icons, and that is a button icon. Now if I right click on that icon and go to properties, I'll be able to switch my symbol back to a movie clip from a button. The dialog box opens up and I simply click movie clip and then OK. Notice that the icon of my symbol blue shape is a little different now. It is a little blue and white icon that looks like a gear or something, but that's the icon from a movie clip. Now I'm going to go back to my stage and right click on the frame cell, select create motion tween. If you create a motion tween from one frame, it will automatically give you the same number of frames as your frame rate. My frame rate is 30 frames per second, so it added frames out to frame 30. Notice you don't see the little individual frame cell boxes anymore. Now what we're going to do is we're going to position the playhead on frame 20 or 21, wherever we want, and then we're going to simply move the blue shape. By moving the blue shape, the position of it has changed, but also if you look at the timeline, right under the 21 is a little diamond, and that is known as a property keyframe. So if I go to frame 1, I see that the movie clip is in one position that's different than when it is on frame 21. So there's going to be a movement from 1 to 21. Let's say I want the animation to kind of ping pong. So it starts in one position, it moves, and then it returns to the original position on frame 30. I'm going to have to select the single frame cell under frame 1. In order to do that, if I simply clicked on that timeline, I get all of the frames. If you want to select a single one, command click on it. And then I right click on it and I go to copy properties. Now I'm going to position the playhead on frame 30, right click, and go to insert keyframe all. Another way to do that is to position the playhead where you want, make sure the little shape is selected, and hit the up arrow and down arrow. That will move the shape up a little bit and then down the same amount. So it will be in exactly the same position as the preceding keyframe. But of course, I don't want it to have the same position as it did on frame 21. I want frame 30 to look exactly like frame 1. So a few steps ago, we copied the properties from frame 1. Now we're going to command click on that property keyframe, frame 30, and then right click and go to paste property. So it's going to paste in the exact position of the blue shape from frame 1. Let's say I want to make my animation a little longer. I'm going to position my cursor on the vertical end of the motion span. That's that little vertical line right at frame 30. And then I'm going to press and drag that vertical line out to wherever I want it to go. That's going to extend my animation. So you can make the animation longer or shorter by dragging the end line to the left or right.